Welcome to Florida Real Estate Profits, and we are talking about how you can make money in Florida real estate, giving you an unfiltered view. And today, Guy, I want to tee you up on this. We talked to a lot of investors, and the number one metric that a lot of investors care about is cash-on-cash return. And in the short-term rental industry, it can be hard to come by certain cash-on-cash return metrics that long-term investors are used to. What other considerations should a short-term rental investor be looking at besides that normal kind of pure cash-on-cash return metric?
Yeah, obviously one of the hugest benefits to a vacation home is you can use it for your personal use. And so even in the vacation home market, you may see something that's got a way better return, but it's somewhere you don't want to go. So you have to factor in that you're buying a vacation home for the use enjoyment portion. And even if the cash-on-cash return is not huge, it's very important to consider if you hold a home for 10 years and you have a mortgage, you pay off 20% of the mortgage. If you get 3% appreciation per year, you end up with obviously another at least 30%, more than 30% because of compounding interest in equity in the property. And then there's obviously, especially for domestic owners, U.S. buyers, there's big tax benefits. You can write off the second home or vacation home while you're in your bigger earning years and then defer that gain down the road to when you're making less money. So there's great tax benefits to take more dollars home. In fact, I just talking to some real sophisticated investors and they're buying homes and doing accelerated depreciations and the tax savings ends up making them almost put zero down on the home. So there's some creative ways. So you can't just look at how much cash it's thrown out.
And it kind of goes back to, I know we've done a separate video on the spectrum of the short-term rental investor and where are you on the spectrum between pure investor looking for only cash-on-cash return versus I'm a second home buyer and I want it for personal enjoyment. The reality of it is if you're in this space, typically you're somewhere on that spectrum, but it's just great food for thought because it's a short-term rental is typically, it's a much different investment type than a long-term rental that you never plan to actually spend time in, right? But there are additional factors that if we're not including them in our ROI, and we actually have our own kind of in-house analysis that helps people do this. But if you're not including some of these additional factors, which include appreciation, which include depreciation, which include use and enjoyment, which I want to go to you, Michael. That's one of the big things that I think a lot of people underestimate is how significant that part of the benefit can be to an investor. Can you talk to us about how should an investor be thinking about the personal use and enjoyment piece of the pie?
A lot of good ways to look at it is, you can write your vacations off when you come as far as inspections and use of the home. You also get free vacations, so you get to enjoy the home and come use the home. There are multiple different ways.
That in and of itself, you mentioned two different things there, Michael. A lot of times for the average family, the cost of a vacation stay, it can be upwards of $2,000 plus per week. And if you're going to spend only 2 weeks, let's just say just 2 weeks, but a lot of people would spend 4 maybe over the course of a year. That's considerable savings that should be going into your ROI calculation. So whether that's $4 to $8,000 that goes into your ROI calculations. And then on top of that, Michael, you made a great point, which is, hey, you can actually write the trip off, potentially talk to your tax professional on this, but you need to be able to check in on your property. This is part of your business, right? This is a business that's generating you cash flow. And then you have to, it's good for the business owner to go check on their property and maybe they get to stay a few days and enjoy it as well too, right?
Exactly.
So that's a great extra benefit. Anything else to add on this one, Guy?
I think that people have to understand that real estate is one of the greatest investments. Obviously, if they're watching this video, they're interested. But as we were talking, I was just thinking about it. And I go, with the volatility of stocks and different things, it's just nice to have sticks and bricks. We've just gone through a period of inflation. Real estate and it's historically, since I think the 1950s, it's always had good appreciation. We've had real rush heavy ones and some lower periods, but if you hold it over time, you have a hard asset. Inflation is just part of our economy, right? What you paid for a gallon of milk 30 years ago, you paid different than 20 years ago, and so on and so on. So, the people that are laborers, the materials, they just always go up.
That's really good. Just to summarize, some of the key points in this conversation is, yes, you have the base numbers, which is how much am I spending on this, how much cash is in here, and how much rental income am I getting. But on top of that, you have principal paydown benefit that you should be thinking about. You have equity appreciation of the asset, which you typically see. over a long period of time, especially if you buy a good asset in the right place, in the right community. And you have the personal use and enjoyment benefit that a lot of investors equates to thousands of dollars on your year that can make a big difference in the ROI calculation. And then you have tax savings, which is a big deal. So 4 more considerations that you should be thinking about when it comes to factoring in an accurate ROI in a short-term rental investment. And with that, we'll leave you guys and see you in a future video. Thanks for joining us.